I am a bit of a planner. John and I are really excited because we're going away next weekend. Just the two of us, the children are going to stay with my parents in London, and we're going to go to Bath. It's been planned for a while. It's a Christmas present for the both of us. An opportunity to see Bath, somewhere that we've never been before. And we're both really looking forward to it, but we do plan in very different ways. I want to plan everything we're going to do when we're there. What we're going to eat, where we're going to book to, which museums we're going to go to, all the different places. I want to have them all booked in. John's quite happy. We've got a hotel booked and we don't need to worry about the rest. We can sort that out when we get there. When it comes to packing, we're quite different as well. We're going away for 2 nights. So as far as I'm concerned, I need at least 3 different sets of clothes because I might get wet or something like that in veins. I usually end up bringing at least 1 set of clothes back home again. I'll take clothes for just in case we have a sudden heat wave, but also there might be a monsoon, so probably should take waterproof trousers. And different shoes for walking, or I might go out for a meal, so I need something else then. And thankfully we're going by car, so we can just fill it with all the just in case stuff. It does mean packing takes a lot longer. John is much happier just to make do and does tend to laugh at me quite a lot for planning for every eventuality. What about you? Do you plan for everything or nothing or somewhere in the middle?
Somewhere in the middle, I can say that.
You might think that my planning's fair enough because we're going away for a whole weekend. But what about if we're just going out for the day? I am still the same. I want to know how long I'm going to be out for. Do I need to take lunch? What about dinner? Since having the children and Benjamin's got various food allergies, I've been even more into planning to make sure that we've got somewhere to eat that we know will be safe for him, and it's got even worse. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to ask some children if they would like to come and help me to empty the contents of my handbag, because I am always the one that's got a whole handbag full, the heaviest bag out of everybody that I'm lugging around, and maybe we'll see if we need all the things I've got. Is it just you helping me, Jacob?
I think so, yeah. Right. Yay, I get it. Well,
so my handbag is here. If anyone else wants to come and help me empty it, you can. What can you find? You pass me something?
No.
Ketchup sachets. If you go for fish and chips, you might need ketchup. They might not have ketchup, so ketchup sachets are always helpful. What else might we have? Money. I do need to take my money.
I'm rubbing.
Jacob thinks he needs to take my money. You can rub me if you want, but there's not any real money in there. But yes, I do need to take money out with me. John's now taken to doing all the money on his phone. So we went away to Wales and he hadn't taken his wallet with him at all, which is fine if they accept your phone, but they don't always accept your phone. Sunglasses. It might be really sunny. It doesn't matter if it's really rainy when we set off. Need sunglasses just in case. What else have we got?
Keys.
Yes, I do need my keys. I think they probably are quite essential. What else?
It's really hard to get out.
Oh.
Pen.
Now a pen. I think it's reasonable to have a pen in the handbag. This pen is also a stylus, a spirit level, a ruler. You can twist it around to get the pen. Quite handy. Oh yeah, and there's screwdriver. Joe just reminded me. There's screwdrivers in this bit, and you can use a little screwdriver. So just in case I need to fix something, that suits me quite well. A nail file. That is quite handy. You might need that. Another pen, because this pen might not work. A mask, because at the moment, more masks. There are quite a few masks because I generally assume that my whole family might have all forgotten their masks and I should have one for everyone just in case. And then you end up somewhere that needs the masks. Some mints, I like having mints around. What else have we found?
Sugar.
Hand sanitizer.
Sugar.
Some salt, over my fish and chips as well. Tissues, always need tissues. Lip balm, a hairbrush. I don't think I actually ever take any notice of my hair when I'm out, so I'm not sure why I need my hairbrush, but I might do. Sun cream for my lips, still preparing for that heat wave.
Still rubbing in mint.
More mints, maybe they will run
More
out.
tissue.
More tissues, we might have a really bad cold. Right, hang on, put some stuff down. Ah!
Yeah.
Okay, some water.
Eat them on the floor.
What are you giving me now? My shopping list. That was probably just left from the other day. This is one of those fold-up bags because you might have too much stuff to carry. I think I usually do. So then you've got a fold-up shopping bag that you can then use to carry all the spare stuff. Glasses cleaners. I didn't even realise these were in here until I sorted out my handbag, but they would be handy if I'd remembered. A little spoon in case you get an ice cream and you haven't got a spoon to eat it with.
Oh, look what I found.
They went in my handbag.
They were.
And some more glasses cleaners. Well done, thank you children. I think you found everything.
What's this?
Oh,
And even your keys.
gloves in case we decide to do some litter picking while we're out and about because you never know.
I have no idea what this is.
Keys.
And a rubbish bag that I clearly got off an aeroplane or something that you can put all your rubbish in. So they're very useful. Yeah.
We've got one more
So that is possibly why. Oh, what else have we found? Oh, a torch. You never know.
You said this is the end.
I thought it was the end. Slightly concerned. It's a brilliant handbag. There's loads of pockets. Another rubbish bag. Oh yeah, and inhaler's quite a useful thing to have.
Just check if we have.
Have you found everything else?
No, I feel something here.
Check. We're going to check.
And a chocolate bar, which is a Benjamin friendly chocolate bar, so that works for allergies, in case we have a snack and he can't have one. And another chocolate bar, in case he needs 2 snacks.
Wait, there's a little space here.
And I found something here.
So. You
I am quite impressed. They found more stuff in my handbag than I found when I was sorting it out. Got some headphones, just in case.
just check if there's another secret spot in her bag that we
We're gonna.
I was genuinely surprised at how many chocolate bars I had in my handbag.
might.
Benjamin, did you know? Right.
That's all of it.
This is mine now.
Brilliant. Thank you for your help. You two can go and sit down. That's fantastic.
I'm staying.
So, this talk is not supposed to be just about my handbag and packing, but it is supposed to be about Jesus feeding 5,000. We're going to read from the book of John in the Bible, but this story is actually in Matthew, Mark and Luke as well. I will use the names Jesus and God quite interchangeably today, because they are 2 people that is also one. If that doesn't make sense to you, I'm really sorry, and you can listen to my talk from last Thursday, which explains a little bit more about that. I will read the story of the feeding of 5,000 to you now. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is, the Sea of Tiberias, and a great crowd of people followed him, because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. "Here was a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. After the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who has come into the world." Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. So it says in the story that Jesus already knew what he was going to do. When God created the world, which was recorded in Genesis at the start of the Bible, he looked at it and said it was good. Adam and Eve, the first man and woman, were in the Garden of Eden, and God told them not to eat from the tree in the centre of the garden. A snake came and encouraged Eve to eat from that tree, which she did, and she encouraged Adam to do so as well. It was at this point where God's plan of his perfect world went wrong. And things have continued to go wrong ever since, with broken relationships, wars, famines, droughts, and other awful things. However, God knew that was going to happen, and he had a redemption plan which involved Jesus. The same is the case here. Jesus already knew what he would do. The others hadn't planned for needing something to eat or how they would get it, but he was aware of their needs and how he planned to meet them. So the next thing that stood out to me was that Jesus tests Philip, it said. And when it said that, it seemed a little bit unfair to me, like he'd been put on the spot by a class teacher to answer an impossible question. However, if you look at the way Jesus was, he didn't do this to humiliate Philip, but to help him. By Jesus questioning Philip, it helped him to realise that they couldn't rely on human resources to supply their needs. They would have to look to God and have faith in him. This also taught all the disciples that having faith meant trusting in things that they cannot see. In Hebrews, which is another book of the Bibles, it says, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see." It's not always easy to believe in something that we can't see, but this is what Jesus was teaching Philip and the disciples here, that they could believe in Jesus' supernatural power to supply their needs. So then one of the other questions I had was how did it happen? Did Jesus keep breaking some bread and more bits just kept appearing? Was it like one of these films you see where something just multiplies and more of them comes? But there's a story in the Old Testament that I'm going to read you now. It's about a time when there was a drought in the land, and it's from 1 Kings 17, verse 7. "Sometime later, the brook dried up because there'd been no rain in the land. Then the word of the Lord came to Elijah, who was a prophet. Go at once to a complicated name of a place that I can't say very well, Zarephath, in the region of Sidon, and stay there. I have directed a widow there to supply you with food." So he went to that place, and when he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called to her and asked, "Would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink?" As she was going to get it, he called, "And bring me, please, a piece of bread." "As surely as the Lord your God lives," she replied, "I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I'm gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die." Elijah said to her, "Don't be afraid. Go home and do as you've said, but first make a small loaf of bread for me from what you have and bring it to me, and then make something for yourself and for your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. The jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day that the Lord sends rain on the land." And in this story, God made it so that the oil did not run out. The widow was able to keep pouring it as she needed right until the end of the drought. In this situation, God continued to provide oil and flour by the containers just never running out. Do you think it was the same with the bread and the fish? Or did he put some in the basket and more just appeared? It's funny because I spent quite a lot of time thinking about this. I didn't question how God created the world, and yet I believe that he created the whole world from nothing. Therefore, if he can create the whole world from nothing, the mountains, the sea, the sun, the stars, the fish, the animals, and even each of us, Well, maybe I shouldn't be that surprised that he can create some more bread and some more fish, and it probably doesn't matter how he actually did it. Then, when it talks about taking more than half a year's wages to buy enough food, that's just such a lot of money. It makes me think how many people there actually were there. I can't imagine having to save for half a year to be able to spend money on food. It says that there were 500 men there, but women and children were extra, meaning there may have been between 15 and 20,000 people there. And I find it really hard to imagine that number of people. At my secondary school, there were about 1,000 people, and in my opinion, that was probably plenty. I don't know how Jesus managed to speak to 15,000 people at once, and he didn't have a PA. I've had to use one to speak to you guys here today. Imagine being outside on the hillside and trying to speak to thousands of you. I think that might have been quite a challenge. And the small boy had a packed lunch. Was the small boy the only person who had food with him, or the only one willing to share his food? Was his mum like me and packed up food just in case, because you're never quite sure whether you're going to be out for longer than you expected to be? Or was he supposed to be somewhere else, and he got swept along to follow Jesus, but he'd taken food from wherever he was supposed to be? When he saw that they were struggling for food, did he offer his small amount to share? And would you have done that? Or would you have thought you need it yourself and therefore not wanted to share it? Would you have thought it was too small, it wouldn't make a difference, and therefore not bothered to offer it because there were so many people that needed feeding? The other people have food with them and just hide it and not share it, thinking that they were alright, so they'd just eat their food quietly and not share it with others. And when the little boy shared his and it blessed so many people, did they feel they'd missed out then on that blessing? Then I wondered about the people just following Jesus who hadn't planned to be out that long. So imagine you've gone out just to the shop and you've seen Jesus, you're supposed to be going home for lunch, but he's going to teach more about God loving him. Do you drop everything and follow him to go and find out more? Or do you say, no, I've not got my packed lunch with me and I've got more important things to do? We could ask whether anything is more important than following Jesus. If he was there, then I really hope I would have dropped everything to follow him. I hope that I would have recognised that his teaching and spending time with him was more important than anything else that I could be doing that day. Now, today, I try to be available to him all of the time. If I feel there's something that Jesus wants me to do, then I hope I would drop everything to do it. When we felt that God was telling us to start Sunday Afternoon Connect here, I wanted to change all of my plans to make it happen and try to do everything that I thought he'd asked. It's not always that easy, especially when I get caught up in other parts of life and don't always remember to put Jesus first. Then I looked at the baskets of food left over. Why did Jesus give extra when he would have known how much was needed? Wasn't it enough of a miracle that he fed so many people, but there was spare as well? Or is this more of a comment on God's abundant blessing? There are so many examples in the Bible of God blessing the people hugely, and definitely so much more than we deserve. One example is in the New Testament in 2 Corinthians. It says, "And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." So my thought, therefore, is that Jesus filled all of the extra baskets to show that he will continue to give us more than we need and bless our lives so much when we trust in him. So the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes number, lots of people ask why were there that number. Personally, I have no idea. It may be symbolic, it may have meant something to the people at the time, it may not be, and it might just be how much the little boy brought with him. Right, so thinking back to earlier then, do I need to plan for every eventuality? Or do we think that maybe I should trust God? just as he knew that they would be hungry and fed them when they followed him, he will look after what I need too. I don't think that he will always supernaturally provide food, but I do think he will give me access to the things that I need. When Jesus sent his disciples to go to towns and share about him, he told them not to take a purse, a bag, or sandals and rely on the hospitality that people offered when they arrived. If they weren't welcome, then they were told to go elsewhere and shake the dust from their feet, as a warning of God's judgment on those towns. Now, I do not intend to leave my handbag at home. I don't think I'm in that same circumstance now that I can take Jesus' advice to his disciples as advice to me. But why do I worry? Maybe I should be less worried about packing for every eventuality and trust that when Jesus calls me, I can follow him. And my husband is cheering, thinking that maybe I won't spend so long packing.